Welcome to episode 9 with Travelin' with Bones. Today I am here with AJ from Juice Crew, a racial justice crew that has been on the ground since June here in Portland, Oregon. How you doing today?
I'm good. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate this very much. So you are one of the members of Juice Crew here in Portland, Oregon. Can you tell me a little bit about Juice?
Juice is a crew that was established here in Portland, Oregon, solely based on just individuals that were essentially people that live here that were involved in Black Lives Matter. And they're mainly led by black individuals, Dre and David. And I don't know if you want to go over last names, but we can if you like. It comprises of some other members that are just awesome individuals that just were standing up for what's right. And we went out there and we were peaceful and we stood together and tried to make a point to about police brutality. And we just have been through some things that most people will not experience in life and everyday life, and things that I'm pretty sure that they would experience in wars in other countries.
Yeah, that's real. So, before we get too much into that, tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your background.
So I was born and raised in Malaysia, Southeast Asia. So it's when I moved here, it was 1998. I was probably 13 years old. And we didn't move to Washington or Oregon. I actually moved to Colorado Springs. So it was definitely a little bit different there, being close to like the Boulder and Denver. It was definitely a white city, a lot of white people, not a lot of black people. I went to a really big high school that was very segregated. You had your white groups, Hispanic, and Latino, and Black, and then your Asian communities that were they stayed in their own areas in the school. They hang out in their own spots, So growing up, I've always just experienced racism my whole life.
Yeah, so, do you have any idea or concept about the police brutality in Malaysia? What that looks like?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's probably even worse. But because the government in Malaysia is a little bit more corrupt, the police sometimes there's a lot of extorting and stopping, illegal stops where they stop you and they ask you if you have a license, and if you don't, you can just give them what's in your pocket and you can go on your day.
Wow, yeah. I've experienced that in a couple of developing countries, so I can only imagine growing up in that area. So, so when did you move to Washington?
We moved to Washington shortly after, probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years in Colorado. So, so I moved to Colorado 13 when I was 15. When we moved to Port Townsend, Washington, where I met some good people and some not so good people there. Obviously, the not so good people have just been trapped in that little town. They got nothing to do, nowhere that they're going other than just into that hole of drugs and alcoholism. And then the good ones are the ones that got out of there and actually did something with their lives, and were able to hold jobs and do the American lifestyle, buying homes and having families.
Right, and so I've been to Port Townsend a few times, and from my perspective, it's the one of the whitest towns you can find on the West Coast. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of cowboys, and they're proud to be American. They're good people, awesome people. Everyone I went to school with, I'm still friends with, obviously, on Facebook, but a lot of which that have been very silent throughout a lot of this. So,
So do you feel like you experience more racism in Colorado or Washington?
Whoa, yeah, that's tough. I don't know if Colorado was racism along with being a teenage boy growing up.
Sure.
As opposed to in Washington, where it was blatant racism, and here obviously as well. So I would say it's probably the same across the board on a spectrum of it's either you're racist or you're not.
Right, right. So when I met you, it was down at the Justice Center during night, probably like it was early on, night 50, night 60 of protesting, something like that. Right now, for the readers and listeners to know, I think Portland, Oregon is on day 225 of continuous protesting. So when I met you down there, you were kind of telling me about how you just moved here in May, I believe. May.
I moved here, last probably a year and a half ago now.
So tell me about, so a year and a half ago, so you had a little bit of experience of Portland, Oregon prior to the uprising or after George Floyd's murder.
Yeah.
Tell me about the experience that you've had here in Portland, as you know, you've shared with me a few stories of just how all you've seen is what we've seen in the streets in Portland.
Through. Yeah. Like you say, like people that born and raised here and grown up here and seen Portland in the past, where downtown and businesses open pre-COVID, before the movement, where things were normal, and to go to stores and shop at the Gucci store, and things like that. I never really got to experience any of that because I moved here and it was like, I was working and I was like exploring areas, and before anything happened, May 29th, literally MLK, I was outside right here, and they walked down here and they smashed Nike, and they went down and got Verizon, and and there was just a group of black people that were screaming, and then there were a group of white people that were running behind them, blocked up, that were had rocks in their hand running down the street. I have them on camera, and so I was like, what's going on here? I knew about George Floyd's death, but I didn't know that it had reached all the way from there to here, and so then the next day. Went to the Justice Center, and we were just standing out there, and it was just, there was no fence, there was nothing, there's just the cops on, I want to say, Main and 3rd, and it was the people, and we were just yelling at them, telling them that was messed up, you guys can't do that, you need to hold them accountable. They came out with DJ Elrad at the first time we met Elrad. That was no fun because they were right in front of us on 2nd, and we were on 3rd. So between so Elrad was right between us. They even pulled a protester from our side to try to talk to us, to tell us all to go home, and it was a person of color, a male, I believe. He did a few performances in the past. I don't remember his name, but he even tried to talk to us and say, "You guys need to go home," and we didn't move, we didn't budge. That's the days that we would just lay on the floor with our hands on our backs and not move. And they just looked at us like, what's going on? Then they got a fence. And then...
and the fence was around the Justice Center.
Perimeter,
right?
Yeah, a perimeter. Just around, like, to Salmon. Or what is this Main? It was across Main. And the Justice Center and the courthouse, right? And then, and the back side of that. And then, remember when they got all those lights? And we had all the aluminum foil to reflect that back.
Yeah.
And then they started throwing bottles. That's when they're like, oh, they're being violent with the bottles. That'd just be one person in the crowd that run over and throw one bottle and run because he's scared, and in a sea of 1,000 people, and they would declare that unlawful, and now we're here.
And that's when the riot started, right? And then shortly thereafter, I think around the 4th of July, just before the 4th of July, the feds came. And do you recall the 4th of July?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that just for the listeners and readers to understand, like the 4th of July is like it's a pivotal moment in the protesting here in Portland, Oregon, and AJ can tell you why.
Yeah, we were just celebrating 4th of July, and just, we didn't know that we were at the stage of where we were actually going to be confronted and assaulted in the ways that they did, with all the CS gas and the rubber bullets and the huge rubber bullets. I still have scars and still indentations on my legs from those rubber bullet hits from those nights. But um, yeah, so they just caught us by surprise. We were just out there and we were blowing off. They're shooting off fireworks close to the jail, and they came out and said not to hit the buildings with the fireworks. And unfortunately, some folk did tilt the fireworks towards the building that shattered some windows, and that's when it came out and all hell broke loose. We then slowly had to start gearing ourselves just to witness what's going on, even not partaking in any of the fire starting or looting or smashing or breaking. We were just witnessing what's going on in our neighborhood, backyard, and city, and we were just fell victim to being in the surrounding area.
Yeah, 4th of July was my first night back in Portland. I just got back from Tulsa protesting down there, and I showed up right when the feds came out, and next thing I know, I was being chased still 10 blocks through downtown, all the way, gas everywhere. Just, that was my first night of something that I would call battle. That was very, and we weren't all prepared, right? So the saying in Portland is, we came out with hula hoops, and then they started declaring riots, right? And then they started gassing us, so we started wearing gas masks. So then they started shooting us, so we started wearing bulletproof vests, and helmets, and it just kept escalating. And shin guards, right?
Elbow pads and
yeah. And then the Proud Boys and the Patriots and the Chuds started coming out, and so everyone started wearing bulletproof things. At first, like, my tactical gear just had like a rubber, like a piece of aluminum to keep from the rubber bullet impacts.
You just have pockets there you're holding stuff in.
Exactly, right. And then, the Proud Boys came out, and there has been live round shootings, and so we've all started wearing ballistic gear.
Yeah.
And like, that being said, it hasn't been escalated by the peaceful protesters whatsoever, or all protesters, and the most escalation I've ever seen was, fireworks and fire starters and damage to buildings, but never to...
Which were contained fires. They were really
right.
just...
literal dumpster fires.
Dumpster fires or just a small fire in the middle to literally to keep them warm. There's been plenty of fires that we've put out, I'm sure, but it got to a point where we would run over here to put out one fire, and another one would start over here, and we'd run over here and put out that one, and then this one would start back in.
Right. So, and that's like how I met AJ is, there was continuous infighting within the protests, right? Not just with police brutality, but AJ would, like, we had a gang of kids, we called them the Children of Corn, who literally came from gang life, and, there was shootings, there was robbery, like, there was a lot of, like, very intense scenarios that needed assistance, not police assistance, but just de-escalation. And so that's how I met AJ, was just de-escalating infighting, intense situations downtown.
Yeah. When people would freak out and think that, oh, there's a mole, that's a plant, they're a bug, they're
right.
a cop, or they're Proud Boys. I mean, we've had instances where we had Proud Boys come show up and be like, we're with you.
Yep.
We want to stand with you. We don't like you guys, but we don't like the government anymore. Mm-hmm. And obviously they had to pick a side, and they did. It's kind of crazy what's going on right now, how roles are kind of flipped, mm-hmm. and these guys are all butthurt, and because they now understand what we went through, and what we have endured, and what we've been going through, and what we've been saying this whole time. They're now experiencing it, so they're switching, they're flipping. They want to dress in all black and be
right.
So.
Yeah, so to give a little context for that as well is, I think last week or the week before, a lot of Patriot Prayer Proud Boys and Chuds who have literally been battling us in the streets with, armed with AR-15s mostly, they went down to downtown Salem at the Capitol and ended up getting a riot declared on them after busting through the doors.
Unlawful assembly, busting the doors. They had the tanks out there on them. And guess what?
They had the tanks on them. I didn't see that.
2 arrests.
Right. And that's the difference.
It's a double standard. Mm-hmm. These guys are over here literally fucking shit up, and they're just getting slapped on the wrist. But if we just show up, they gang tackle us, and before
Target
you can even
arrest.
do anything,
Right.
target arrest, group arrest, and just start grabbing people before walking in the street.
So tell me about the 100th night of protesting, because that was an intense situation, that was an intense night, and that was also a night that depicts the idea of why how different they treat the police treat Antifa or BLM protesters rather than patriots and Proud Boys.
Yeah, like the 109th protesting, we went out and we just, it was positive. We had a few key black speakers that got up on stage and got to share their experiences with us, and their life story, and maybe someone that they know that may have lost their life, or someone maybe even a family member. Take Patrick Himmons, for instance, that was shot by Portland police, and so we show up and the people are talking, and we say, okay, we're just gonna, we have a plan. We're gonna march by the cops. We're gonna tell them, rah rah, fuck you, and we're gonna loop around and come right back. And we walked out of the park, and there they were. Once again, DJ Elrad said, you cannot leave this park, and we said, that's fucking bullshit. You can't tell us what we can and can't do. We're just,
we haven't even left the park yet.
We haven't even left the park. They said, you don't have a permit for this, and then all of a sudden there's a guy on fire and his feet.
The Molotov cocktail.
A cocktail goes off, and we don't know if it's, we had chuds standing over here antagonizing us. We don't know if they threw one.
From our perspective, it looked like it came from behind the police line, and behind the police line was Chuds and Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys. So it looked like the Molotov cocktail came from that side.
Yeah, but I guess in actuality it came from the other side. But that was also the area where we had that Nazi in the trailer by the store. So with the Nazi patch. So not are we only we're battling these people, they're willing to just do the wrong thing because that's just what they believe in, and it's like we're saying, hey, do the right thing, and they want to suppress us and tell us, no, that's not the right thing. It's just
so stupid. And there was this moment, so I was there with Juice Crew, AJ was there. There was this moment where there was so much gas in the air. I still don't know if I still have seen that much gas. There was so much CS gas. Like, everyone's suited up, everyone's wearing their masks. People, it's still seeping into their eyes. I was just doing eye washes. You were there with a leaf blower, which, for the readers and listeners to understand, are what our team would do in those plans of action. Someone would hold a shield against me, in front of me, and someone that was hurt to take the impact ammunition. I would do eye washes so they could see again, and this person, wonderful person, would have a leaf blower and get the gas off of them. And leaf blowers became a combat tool here in Portland, Oregon.
A defensive,
I should say defensive.
Until they came out with their own aggressive combat tool
right.
of a leaf blower that was blowing more gas.
That blew gas,
So if we would try to be defensive and not try to show the world that we're not trying to fight them, but we're going to protect our people, and if you came in with the shield to protect and I hit the gas away from you so it didn't affect you, they would then target me and then shoot you with rubber bullets or the rubber cannon. I don't know what they call that.
Those things, I don't know either. They're like this big.
They're like this round.
Fucking huge.
Yeah, it took a windshield out.
It took Twinkies out too.
Hit Donovan in the face. That split his face.
That they target shot a person that was holding a speaker at the JC. And this is when the BORTAC agents were there, so they have precise precision, and they got the person that we're talking about, right in the center of the forehead. They were in critical condition at one point, but I understand that they made it. Yeah.
And all of this was because they wanted to make a stand of, hey, you're gonna do what we say, and if you don't, then we're gonna declare martial law and get the military involved in your city. for what's wrong, and that was a direct action of Trump, I believe, that said,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're gonna get rid of them, and called us a beehive of terrorists.
The anarchist jurisdiction. And in this on the 100th day, there was so much CS gas in the neighborhood that actually our comrade's baby infant who lived in the area got gassed that night. And and this is just a common story of anywhere that we protest, they'll gas and it seeps into the doors and under the doors and windows of the residents in Portland.
Yeah, through the air ducts,
Yep.
open window on a hot summer day, which this was summertime, and also in the Justice Center for the inmates that were in there that were obviously affected by CS gas every night. And like when you say we've seen CS gas in the air for hours at a time, and then also after we can't see it, still lingers on the trees, the cars, our person, all our equipment. So I remember when you would just have just water bottles everywhere, just coming out of a backpack to squirt people's eyes. All the solutions that we went through, all the paper towels that we'd have to make with the
eye wash
solution.
Yeah, the solution. Yeah, and this is all by this is all made and donated by us, right? We all poured our livelihood, our time, our money, our own hard-earned money into what we believe in. No one's getting paid to be downtown. So much money into protective gear. I mean, bulletproof vests, ballistic helmets.
Without the ability to go to work and make money and have jobs because of coronavirus.
Yeah, right. And a lot of people were unemployed, and not even on unemployment because the system's so broken, So it's the true example of a bleeding heart and an empathy coming together for a good cause. So, so you personally, what results would you like to see come out of the protests here in Portland as a result of the protests?
Well, obviously, some may say that we haven't accomplished anything, but I think we've accomplished a lot in 1 year that we've been trying to do in so many years past. The progress that we're making, they're baby steps, but they're still steps at the end of the day for progress. I feel like our demands are being looked at a little more seriously than they were before, but still not all the way met yet. So we just got to keep thinking of new ways to get in front of them and keep asking them the same questions on how we're going to keep them accountable, and what they're going to do to see the necessary change, so that everybody can live in this one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all that has been permanently, if you went to school here, it's permanently imprinted into your brain, but they're not following what they are preaching.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, a lot of people don't realize the change that has happened, how do you say it, like the change of course that has happened within Black Lives Matter here in Portland. So, election day, we had 2 protests. We had our own protest, Juice Crew, and then we had Pop Mob protest come.
Anarchids.
And the Anarchids. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the division that's happened with this?
Yeah, I feel like there's a group of people that have been rooted here in Portland for a while, I believe, which rightfully so, because of the Portland's history with gentrification. But I think that some people have their own agenda of what they want to see happen, and they're thinking of complete abolishment when that's just not really feasible. I feel that police should be involved in maybe like accidents and crashes, home burglaries, investigations on murders. Police don't stop crimes, they only respond after something is done. So it's not like, yesterday, okay, so two examples. The other day I was down at the Lloyd Center, and I'm at the light, and there's a bus, And the bus next to me, all of a sudden, a person of color, is a man. I don't know if he's houseless or not, but he stood in front of the bus, said, "You gotta run me over if you're gonna leave here, because you're gonna be late. You gotta take me, or I'm not moving." So I rolled my window down and I looked at the driver and said, "Why let him on the bus? What's wrong with you?" And she said, "Well, my spirit says he's not allowed on the bus anymore because of his actions." So I looked at the man and I said, "Did you do something wrong that you're not allowed on the bus anymore?" And he said, "That's just what they're saying." And he said, "You're gonna give me a ride?" And I couldn't say yes because I don't know this person. I don't know, if they are. I can't say I gotta pat you down and all that before you get in my car. I don't know you. You're a complete stranger. We don't do that, especially now in these times. And just let you in my car. But then he said, "But if you can help me with $2, that'll be fine." Boom. All right, here's 5. All right, and then he went on his way. And it's just like you never see a white person out there doing that. Even if I've seen white people shooting up heroin on the max, and I've hit the button and told the conductor, "Hey, there's someone literally right here, and there's a baby over here, like someone over here just not doing heroin," and they didn't do anything.
Yeah, there's the racism is just, it's so systemic in all operations, right? So you're for defunding the police. A lot of these anarchists, as we call them, are for abolishing the police. These people are, as a result of a lot of the destruction that you see here, the nonsensical destruction that you see. And like I say all the time, they've just colonized the movement with their own agenda, which is unfortunate. So Word, what would you like to see come of 2021 in the movement here? What would you like to see come into fruition?
I'd like to see us continue going hard from all different angles, and then getting more people involved and getting the truth out there, showing them that there are people that are continuing, that have been doing this, and will continue to do this until changes are made. I mean, we're still kind of just like, there's little baby steps here and there, but Breonna Taylor's murderers are not in jail.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have a job at one precinct, but they can go to the next and get another job there. We need to fix that, right? If a police officer has some sort of negative record, let's not put them in a superior position where they're going to teach others to do the same thing, and not only just set them up for their future to fail, but also then continue to teach those bad policing to other people, which keeps getting us here, and that's what we're policing is, that's what we're protesting is the bad policing. Police should respond to shootings, murders, etc., because they're being paid and they're armed and they have all the, obviously we've seen them, they're talking about, oh, Portland's under siege and there's all these shootings right now. How about you spend more time doing your job to investigate that shit rather than being out here tear gassing people that are just telling you to do your job?
100%. I'm right there with you. Well, I look forward to protesting in the streets with you in 2021 and getting real policy change out there and, staying dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Me too. And I'm just blessed to know you, and just I'm proud of where you're going with this and all the things that you're doing and how you're staying so busy, and just you're such a go-getter, and it's awesome to see you flourish this way.
Oh, I love you.
Love you too.
You're the
Thank
sweetest.
You. All right.
Well, thank you so much. And this won't be the last time. So
hopefully we do many more.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can have one in the future when we see some resolution, and we can
absolutely
look back at this and be like, remember when we did that? It was all sad. And now we can be like, yeah.
I look forward to that day so much. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye.
Kwekwe Sagidwin. Traveling with Bones is Indigenous Glass approved.
Traveling with Bones is Juice approved. Black Lives Matter, y'all.
Traveling with Bones is Fish Guts approved.